Candace here from Little Steps Big Happy. I share health and fitness tips for moms. So today I want to talk about 6 tips that are really going to help you start pushing, exercising regularly so you can reach those fitness goals. As a busy mom of 3 who wants to stay in shape and maintain my weight, exercise is a huge part of what I do on a regular basis. So I want to share with you 6 tips that I have used that I have found really helpful. Tip number 1 is set a clear and specific goal. A lot of people skip this step, but it's really important. If for no other reason, then most of us don't have time to waste. So you really need to be getting the most out of your workouts. And the type of workouts that you do is going to depend on what your goal is. So when I had a goal of running half marathon, I made sure I was running 3 days a week. So I wasn't doing a lot of Pilates, I wasn't doing yoga, I wasn't doing a lot of powerlifting or lifting weights, because that wasn't helping my goal. My goal was to become a better runner. So I made sure I was running 3 days a week. I made sure that my off days were spent either stretching my legs or doing strength training exercises that were going to help me become a better runner. The more specific you are with your goal before you get started, the more in line you're going to make sure your workouts are and that you're getting the best use of your time. Tip number 2 is that now that you have that goal, you need to break it down into small action steps. So using the example I was saying before, when I was training for a half marathon, I needed to go from not running at all to running 13.1 miles. That is a huge jump. And if I just focused on, I need to try to run 13 miles, it would have felt totally overwhelming. So what I did instead is I broke it down into smaller action steps. First, it was like, okay, let's learn how to run 1 mile. And then from there, let's focus on 2, and so on and so forth. And then do I need to increase my speed? What am I having issues with as I'm running, right? Are my legs not strong enough? Do I need to work on that? But I had little small goals throughout the whole process that kept me going. They helped encourage me and motivate me because I could feel and see the progress and success I was getting. Tip number 3 is to start with where you're at. Now, I kind of laugh a little bit because a lot of people struggle with this one. We don't often like to admit what we're physically capable of if that's an area we struggle with. So, for example, myself, I was like, ooh, I want to learn to run, but I wasn't a runner yet. And so I didn't jump up one day and be like, okay, let's go run 3 miles. No way. I started where I was at. I started with speed walking before I even got to running because I knew physically that's where I was at and I needed to build up my strength and endurance in that area before I could move on to the next one. I see people all the time jump into these crazy hard workout programs that after they try them for a few days, they're so sore they can't move. But then usually they don't want to go back to them because they're so difficult. When you start with where you're at, you're allowed yourself to build up the strength that you need in order to reach your goals. Number 4 is to get consistent with your workouts. Doing a workout occasionally is not going to get you to where you want to be. I'm sorry to say, but you have to be consistent. And by consistent, I mean a minimum of 3 days a week. 4 or 5 is even better. The more often you train your body, the stronger it's going to get. So what that means sometimes is you need to change how you're exercising. So for me, example, when I was training for my half marathon, I could not go running for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles every day. I didn't have the time. So what I would do is I did one short day where I did maybe 2 to 3 miles, another short day where I did 2 to 3 miles, and then one day a week I had a long run. But I stayed consistent with running every week, even though that meant sometimes I had to do shorter runs. It's all about how can you make sure you're showing up regularly to train your body in the way that you need to reach those goals. Number 5 is to celebrate your wins. And if at any point in time you have some progress that you notice and see, I expect you to be cheering yourself on in your head. Even to this day, every time when my little tracker lets me know that I've run another mile, in my head I'm like, woohoo, 1 more mile down. Because that encouragement is what we need to keep going. Sometimes tackling new physical challenges is tough. It's kind of hard and we really got to pump ourselves up to get ourselves through it. And that's where the celebration comes in. You celebrate every time you make a step and every time you achieve a new milestone, you're going to be so much more excited and enthusiastic to keep at it. And that's what you need to build that consistency and eventually reach those goals. My last tip for you is to find an accountability partner. When I was training for my half marathon, I definitely used this. I had a running buddy that I met once a week for our long runs. And this was so helpful for making sure that I showed up not only on those weekend runs, but also throughout the week. Because when we met up, I had to be like, hey, did you do your runs this week? Yes or no? And if I wasn't prepared to keep up with her, I definitely felt bad. So it made me show up for myself, not only on those days, but throughout the rest of the week as well. If you're somebody who struggles to stay committed long term, definitely look into getting an accountability partner. It could be really helpful. So those are 6 things that I have done to really help me push through and reach my fitness goals. I hope that's helpful for you, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.